and lives up to the title. Driven out after running, Sire Cruzy has seized the opportunity this season and he's going to land the biggest prize of all, who lead the Derby field up to the line, and it's Ruler of the World who won the Derby.
A royal win in the Gold Cup. Esteban has done it. Esteban and Ryan Moore has won for Her Majesty the Queen.
It's Mono to win the National.
Welcome to the Picks from the Paddock podcast with me, David Weldon. Joining me this evening is Rory Paddock. This evening we're going to look at Champions Day at Ascot, one of the final big meetings of the British flat season. Now, we haven't done a podcast since the 7th September, so there's far too much to catch up on for a quick show. So next week, make sure you join us where we'll be doing a big review of the flat season, and also looking forward to the opening meeting at Cheltenham as the jumps really start to kick on. How are you, Rory?
Yeah, not too bad, Dave. Not too bad at all.
Good stuff. So we'll jump straight into it, and the first race on at Ascot is the race for the stayers. It's the Champions Long Distance Cup at Group 2. Rory, thoughts on the race?
It was a very, very nice race. There's a lot of decent, either big-time long-distance handicap winners or, Royal Ascot Gold Cup, sort of previous runners, etc., etc. I think Forgotten Rules will have a chance, but it's been very disappointing this year in terms of it's not been perhaps the horse we expected it to be compared to last season. The Tidgen ran brilliantly when he hadn't been seen for ages to win last time out. If that could go in again, then what a training performance that'd be. I think in terms of a dark horse, I think Flying Officer, if it progresses, it needs to take a massive step up. But I think that could perhaps sneak a place. But the one I'm going to go with, Agent Murphy. Course win to its name, been very, very consistent this year. Unfortunately, the prices are probably a bit too skinny at 5-1. But if you get an each way bet to nothing for a place, then I think it's probably worth a shot. Very competitive race though, but yeah, Agent Murphy, brand new results for me.
Lovely. I see where you're going with Agent Murphy, but there's a horse that finished just a neck behind it the last day in the Irish St. Leger. They were miles behind the eventual winner, Order St. George, who was one of the best 3-year-olds out there over the distance this season. And the horse is Wicklow Brave from Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins has done exceptionally well with his flat horses this year, and it was probably an easy guess given how much of a genius the man is. But Wicklow Brave is currently around 16-1 shot, and I can't for the life of me understand why he's 3 times the price of Agent Murphy and also 3 times the price of Forgotten Rules. It's worth from
far too big.
Far too big. So that's going to be my selection each way. Hopefully he goes Wicklow Brave. But it's also worth remembering that Forgotten Rules won this race last year on heavy ground. You could probably argue he hasn't had his ideal conditions this year, being a national hunt bred horse. He probably wants a bit of cut in the ground. And with the going suggested at good to soft, it might be more in his favour, and Dermot Weld wouldn't be sending him over without a chance. But Wicklow Brave for me at about 16-1. And we'll move swiftly on to the sprint, the British Champions sprint over 6. And really it's hard to look past the favourite Muhara, but at around 2-1 in a big field, it's probably just a little bit on the short side. I fully expect him to win, but he could win without my money. And the one that I like is Great Minds of Tommy Sachs. I've been following this horse all year, and if you read our book, you would have gone on some nice prices at the start of the year. Wants soft ground, so conditions should be ideal. And it ran over at Haydock. It was the last time it ran, and it got absolutely crucified in running. Got no sort of run at all when it was still in contention under Jamie Spencer. I just think it's been overlooked in the market, given that it hasn't run since. No issue with it coming off a break. I think it won fresh this year coming off a break as well. So at 33 to 1, it's worth an each way play. Hopefully a couple of bookies will be doing an extra enhancement given the big field that is likely to go. Of the remainder, you can't really dismiss Gordon or Byron. He's so consistent, ran well in the race last year as well. At 16 to 1, he looks like he's overpriced as well. And in truth, the top three in the market probably look a bit short. Thoughts, Roy?
Completely with you there. Twilight Sun has to be respected as well, based on what it's done. Still probably needs a little bit more improvement to win a race like this, despite what it's done last time. I think Eastern Impact with the course and distance form is probably a bit overpriced at 25s, but it'll probably want good ground as opposed to anything near soft. I'm going to go for a bit of a speculative one. If there's a bit of rain and if it's good to soft or softer, I think Ed Walker's Lightning Moon, if it can recapture its previous form from last year, might have a chance. If it's good or anything further than that, avoid it like the plague. But if it's good to soft or softer, it's got a course and distance win, possibly could go well. Mahrez probably gets a little bit of a mention, but again, is one that probably needs softer ground, a fellow course and distance winner. Mahara should win, like you said, but I'm totally with you. 2 to 1's pretty bit too skinny. So yeah, Lightning Moon, very, very speculative. No great emphasis, but yeah, if it's soft, worth a little small punt.
Stay updated with all our racing news and picks by hitting that like button on our Facebook page or by following us on Twitter at Picks Paddock.
And Rory, you get your thoughts now on the next Group 1 on the card, which is the Filly and Mare Stakes.
Yeah, a lovely race. I'm slightly disappointed Found is probably going for a different race on the day. We spoke about the French horse affair, the Candor earlier. It's only been beaten once in its last, I think, 6 or 7 runs, and that was behind Trev. But you're absolutely right with what you said. It's one of those that you can't really, with French form, you can't really decide what is actually beaten. One that I'm quite sweet at, it certainly needs to step up. This is going to be the biggest test it had. It's won 2 listed contests last time out. I think Journey for John Gosden probably has a chance. Like I said, certainly never faced anything in terms of this sort of level of competition, but the way it won its 2 listed races was ridiculously impressive. Won over the distance, so it's fine, trip-wise. John Gosden and his horses doing brilliantly this year, and probably worth an each way punt at around 7s.
Lovely. My thoughts on the race. There's a couple here who really can be thrown out, like a Tapestry needs fast ground for Aidan O'Brien, and Madam Chang's probably not up to this level. Covert Love and Simple Verse are both former Group 1 winners. To me, they've been overlooked in the market and probably should be shorter. If they were with the likes of Aidan O'Brien or John Gosden, they'd be close enough to odds on. So there might be a bit of value there. Covert Love probably had too hard a race the last day to be considering her here. And Simple Verse, this is obviously an exact stepping stone to After the Ledger, but I'd be concerned with the trip, given that she probably needed every yard of the St. Ledger distance. The one that I'm opting for is from Dermot Weld. He very rarely sends his horses overseas unless they have a chance, and this horse Sonata is fairly well regarded. It's by Azamore, so we'll enjoy the soft ground. It has some good form behind Jazzy Top from earlier on the season when it finished just a length and a half behind her, and she's gone on since frank that form, running well in subsequent Group 1s. And she also finished way behind Plashock, but there was obviously something to miss there because she was off the track between May and August. Then she came back and made a very satisfactory return to form, beating Altiz at Cork. And I just think she's probably might go under the radar here a bit, and she probably looks the value in the race at around 20 to 1 with certain bookmakers. So I'd be having, it's a little few quid in her. Like the fillies been beating each other all year. This race has the potential to cut up as well. There's plenty of French horses in there which they're probably not all going to run. And just, you'd have to give a mention to Arabian Queen as well, after beating Golden Horn. Very disappointed the last time. But again, it's been overlooked in the market. It's about 20 to 1. It's probably deserves to be a bit shorter than that. Next, we'll move on to a race that will definitely cut up. It's the QE2, another Group 1 on the card over a mile. And really, Solo should win this. But he's too short for me. Shade of odds on at the moment at time of recording. Glen Eagles is in there at 7 to 2. But with the ground likely to be on the soft side, it's worth remembering that while it's been dry around Ascot for the last 10 days or so, there's been a heavy dew each morning. So the ground is not drying. I think it's a bit good in places on the straight, but that won't be good enough for Aidan to run his star miler. Of the remainder, I can't really make sense of it. I thought Easterac needed soft ground, but she turned that around when she won at Newmarket recently. If she runs, she'd be of interest for Andre Fabre, who, again, like Dermot Well, very rarely sends his horse over without a good chance. But the horse that I'd give an each way squeak to would be Cale Bay. Showed its liking for the mile when finishing a close up 5th in the Locking Stakes back in May, behind Night of Thunder and Turramore, which is good form. It's been messed around a little bit, running over 6 and running over 7. Very rarely runs a bad race. Likes a bit of cutting the ground. And just with that little confidence booster last week, I think he could go well again at a massive price. I think he has a great each way chance if she can get 3 places with 8 runners. And Rory, your selection please for the QE2.
Yeah, all I know is Glen Eagles probably doesn't run. And with that, in theory, Solo should absolutely hack up. But I'm with you. I'm a massive Solo fan, but around 5 to 6, even money is probably too short. I think the biggest dangers to my selections are probably both the Andre Fabre runners, Isa Tariq and Territories as well. I was with you. I thought Isa Tariq would have needed absolute mud bath until it went and won last time out. Cable Bay for me is just too inconsistent, especially if it's going to be a case where that, in terms of getting his head in front to actually take a win, if the race is going to cut up, there's too much to kind of probably worry about for me there. If anyone's been listening to our podcast previously, you know how much of a Cody Bear fan I am. I think it's got a lot more improvement in it than some of these. And I think if Clive Cox had aimed it for a race like this, end of season, when some of these horses have had a tough, much longer campaign, I think at the age of 3, Cody Bear could have a bit of vast improvement. It's won over the course before. The mile's not going to be an issue. Straight mile's not going to be an issue. Jared Mossey's over for the ride. 6 to 1 as it is at the minute, we're a little bit of profit for a place. I think that's probably, I wouldn't say great value, but I'd probably say that's a fair enough price. So yeah, for me, Cody Bear, each way, 6 to 1. That'll be my selection.
Do you want your say? Email the show direct from our website at picksfromthepaddock.co.uk/podcast and get involved.
We'll move on now to the featured race, and one of the most valuable races in all of Europe, really, over the turf season, and it's the Champions Stakes. Jack Hobbs leads the market here at 6 to 4, 5 to 4. And Rory, can I get your selection, please?
Yeah, it's going to be boring. I wouldn't necessarily call this Champions Stakes a vintage renewal compared to what we've seen previously. I think Jack Hobbs absolutely hacks up in a race like this. Even against older horses, I just don't think even older horses really. You'd probably say Sirius Eagles on its best day would have a good chance, but it's had a very lacklustre season. When you've got the horses like Tullius in here, Air Pilot's even contested it, you've kind of got to worry at where the strength and depth in terms of the older horses comes from. If I wasn't going for Jack Hobbs, I think a good each way fancy was Racing History. Beat Fascinating Rock last time, did it really, really well. Was also put in our notebook in a previous episode. 5-4 Jack Hobbs, you're not going to get an absolute abundance of money back, but I think that's a true reflection of his actual chance. So, you know what, I've given each way selections throughout it. I'll stick with an each way selection. I've got racing history for a place.
Lovely. To me, Jack Hobbs is an absolute ridiculous price. 5-4 for a horse who looks a stayer and will most likely need every yard of a 1.5 mile race. This race is back over 10 furlongs, 1 mile too. I just think it's going to get found out for a turn of pace, and I think it's going to struggle here to win. They're going to have to kick for home 2 furlongs out, which is going to leave him very exposed. It hasn't run over 10 furlongs since the Dante, when it was beaten comfortably by Golden Horn by 2 1/4 lengths. And even like its run at Kempton was over 1 mile 4. I can't for the life of me understand why John Gosden has gone here instead of going to the Arc with this horse, because the extra distance only suits this horse. And well, while it's not for me to question the mighty John Gosden, I just have serious doubts about the trip here. And with that in mind, I think Found is a better bet, especially at the prices. She was arguably closer to Golden Horn in the Irish Champions Stakes over this distance the last time out. Now, fair enough, Golden Horn decided to have a look around coming up to the final furlong, but Found was staying all the way, and she was arguably probably one of the most unlucky horses in the Arc last week. She was given an awful draw, and probably not Ryan Moore's finest moment. At about 5-1, 6-1, it's probably an each way bet to nothing, but I'd be going all in on her. She loved the soft ground. She's had a relatively easy season. Had a nice break there in June, July to come back for the bit of ease in the ground. And if it's on the soft side, she'll absolutely love it. And I think she'll go very, very close. At a bigger price, Fascinating Rock probably needed to be a mud puddle, as he's shown at Windsor, and the ground wasn't in his liking. That was recorded as good as soft, but probably looked a bit quicker to my eye. Very impressive at Leverstown the last day when hacking up in a weaker race than this, clearly, but could only do what he did, and of the older horses, he probably looks the best. But yeah, Found taking on the favourite here, and I think come off time, the prices will probably be more reflective of what they should be. I can see Found going off a 3-1 shot, and Jack Hobbs drifting out to maybe 7-4, maybe even touching 2-1, which to me would be a more fair price given the concerns I have with Jack Hobbs in the trip. Right, so the final race we'll look at now is the Balmoral Handicap. 31 likely to go to post, and really when I looked at this race originally, it was stick a pin in it, hope you find a place and go off and do something else with your winnings. But the more I looked at it, the more I couldn't really get away from halation for David Simcock and Jamie Spencer. This Asamoah gelding has never run on soft ground, and while you might think that is a concern, I think it'll be a positive. Asamoahs by nature love a bit of cutting the ground, and over a mile, her best form over a mile at Ascot, I think she'll outrun her odds massively. As I said, it's a bit of a minefield, but halation for me each way is my selection. Rory?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but horrible race. It's really baffled me in terms of, just where to go. I mean, when I was looking through the form with you before, a lot of horses either just don't act on the soft ground or are handicapped way above their best. And it's thrown me completely. Obviously, there's horses that have backed previously, there's horses that have followed throughout the season. I think the likes of Gabriel's Lad may have a chance, but whether it'll act on softer ground, I'm not too sure. Even if it wants a mile, really. I ended up falling on my sad ass. No massive deal of confidence. I think it's just one of those horses that I think you're probably always going to get a run for your money. It's probably handicapped above its best, but I think you'd probably get a decent enough shout. A little mention for Man of Harlack as well, with for Andrew Baldwin. Whether or not that's had too tough a season, I'm not too sure. But yeah, again, no big deal of confidence. It's an absolute minefield. Definite small stakes. Mercedes as a little each way punt for say Vince Rosiad.
Lovely. Rory, best bet of the day, please.
Best bet of the day. I would probably go with. I'd probably say Journey as an each way punt in one of the earlier races in the 155, the
Phillies race.
Phillies and Mare Stakes. Yeah.
Lovely. Mine will be Wicklow Brave each way. I think he's massively overpriced and I can't see him outside the first three. Thanks for listening. You'll be able to find all our selections on the day on the Picks from the Paddock website, where you'll also be able to find our new book, The 60 Jumpers to Follow. And after the success of our flat book, it really is a must-buy. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook, and you'll get all up-to-date information there. Thanks for listening.
Now you've seen our tips, we want you to show us yours. Do you have what it takes to tip a winner? Use hashtag tell us your tips and tweet us at PicksPaddock. Do you agree with our thoughts in this week's racing? Have your say and comment on this video now.